If you haven't watched my video about how long it takes to get your starter in every Pokemon game, I highly recommend checking that out first. Mostly because it means I get more ad revenue. Now, I could have simply continued my recordings from all those games to make my life easier, but I like things hard. So I attempted to do every game's opposite in this video, until I realized how much work that would be and gave up halfway through. So let that be a lesson to everybody listening to this. Failing is always an option. As for the parameters, I know I'm opening myself to several actuallys in the comments, but I did try to visit the Pokemart in every game to see if they sold balls early. If they did, I bought them and circumvented Game Freak's arbitrary rules. Okay, let's do this video in order from shortest to longest. Well, to my surprise, turns out Let's Go does things out of order like a Taco Bell bathroom after I use it. Instead of battling your rival after getting your starter, 50 Pokeballs are immediately bequeathed unto you. So as soon as I reached Route 1, I encountered a Bellsprout. And yes, that sentence made my Gen 1 boomer brain hurt. But in less than 9 minutes, it was added to my team. There's always some potential tomfoolery in Let's Go when it comes to aiming the Joy-Con. Thankfully, I'm great and was able to catch that Bellsprout on my first attempt. Do you think I'll be able to keep that streak of chucking one ball and succeeding? Leave your guesses in the comments right now. Moving to Kalos, I completely forgot how impactful your force friends are to the experience of Pokemon X and Y. Not only do they give you your starter, it's Serena who gives you the first 10 Pokeballs, which Shauna can't comprehend the concept of like she's a grandma learning about Netflix for the first time. In less than 11 minutes, I had already caught my first Pokemon, a level 2 Scatterbug, on my first attempt, all without meeting Professor Sycamore. A mere 8 minutes into Black 2 and White 2, Bianca had given me 10 Pokeballs and my mom gifted me some running shoes. Considering that she doesn't have a bedroom in the house, money must be tight, so I greatly appreciated it. Then Bianca took me to Route 19, showed me how to play with my balls, and after 11 minutes and 26 seconds, I caught my favorite retired YouTuber with one ball, Matt Patrat. So something not chill happened on my way to deliver Oak's parcel in Fire Red and Leaf Green. I was trying to be a big boy and make it all the way through without healing. But this beast of a Rattata took a Leech Seed and a tackle to the face, then retaliated with a critical hit, leading to me whiting out. For the warriors out there, it didn't really add anything to the timer though. It was just annoying. Once I recovered consciousness, Oak gave me some Pokeballs, I went into the tall grass and caught a Wheat Pidgey in just over 12 minutes with my first throw. You should know the drill by now in these games. Birch gives you a Pokedex, May gives you 5 Pokeballs, your mom gives you some shoes, and up until this point, all I'd faced were Wild Poochyena and Zigzagoon. When it came to my first catch encounter though, it was a stupid Wurmple. I caught it after 12 minutes and 23 seconds, wasting only one ball. I did enter the danger zone on Wurmple's health, which always creates a moment of tension as I watch that HP bar dwindle, hoping it doesn't reach 0. After officially obtaining Piplup from Professor Rowan in the Switch remix, out of curiosity I went into the Pokemart. Whether carelessness or intentional, you can buy Pokeballs in Sinnoh before Dawn has a chance to teach you how to use them. So I bought 10, and on the way back to my mommy, caught a level 3 Starling after 2 poundings. Also, if you were wondering, yes, the Diamond and Pearl remakes allow you to catch a Pokemon before fighting your rival, which is rarer than a streamer passing instead of smashing a Lopunny. What sucks is that even if you have multiple caught Pokemon on your team, Dawn still forces you to watch the tutorial, unlike Sword and Shield where Leon at least asks for consent. After delivering Oak's parcel in Red and Blue, I went to the Pokemart in Viridian City, bought some Pokeballs, and made my way to the Pokemon League. Along the way, a wild level 3 Rattata appeared. One tackle from Charmander put it in the danger zone. I didn't want to risk KOing it and breaking my streak, so I chucked a Pokeball. On my first attempt, it was caught 13 minutes in. Naturally, I would not be using it very much because the damn thing kinda sucks. I mean, can anyone actually say they carried a Rattata all the way to the Pokemon League? I know I ragged on the Unova starters in my previous videos, but I can't deny the charm of the Black and White games. The leaves blowing in the wind, the friends who aren't annoying and have interesting personalities, the way the Pokemon move. When people say these games have aged better than Marissa Tomei, they aren't exaggerating. In terms of catching your first Pokemon, Professor Tree meets you on Route 1, gives you a disappointing 5 Pokeballs because I guess there was a recession, and you set off towards Akumula Town. After 13 minutes, I ran into a Patrat, caught it in one go, and added it to my team. A team that, unlike the other games, will need to be more varied than just maining my starter because of who the gym leader is. But that's a battle for another video. Not long after getting my starter in Diamond and Pearl, I exploited the gaping loophole. While Dawn won't show you how to catch a Pokemon until you talk to your mom, the Pokemart allows you to purchase Pokeballs early, proving that rules don't matter if you have money. So I bought 5 balls, ran into a Starly just like the remakes, and caught it in less than 14 minutes. Of course, Dawn still forced me to watch her tutorial where I spaced out and unfocused my eyes until I saw weird shapes. Despite Gary getting a butt whooping fairly early on, catching your first Pokemon in Yellow takes a bit longer. First, you have to travel to Viridian City, go to the Pokemart, fondle Oak's package, then return it to him. I'm not sure if it's mandatory, but I let the old man fail to show me how to catch a Pokemon, then I went towards the Pokemon lead where nothing bad could possibly happen to square off against a level 2 Spearow. Since the only attacking move Pikachu has is Thunder Shock, I had to take a risk. I instantly chucked a Pokeball, and on my first try, I caught the damn thing. Had this been a normal playthrough, Spearow would be tossed aside in favor of Pidgey, the superior early bird. Instead, I'll keep it as a sacrifice against Brock. After Professor Birch gives you the Pokédex and May rewards you with a Poultry 5 Pokeballs, and your mom gives you some running shoes, you can finally catch a Pokemon in Ruby and Sapphire. I ran into a level 2 Wurmple not long after, pounded it like it owed me money, and chucked a ball. Well, the damn thing broke free, breaking my lengthy catch streak in the process. So I used a risky Absorb, which luckily didn't KO the thing. The next time I showed it my balls, it got excited and joined my team. Even with the setback, this all happened in under 15 minutes. Scarlet and Violet are massively disappointing, and catching your first Pokemon in them isn't much better. Instead of being given the choice of which wild Pokemon to encounter in the expansive open world, Pneumonia forces you to catch a level 3 Lechonk. Even worse, she only gave me 5 Pokeballs. Clearly, she's trying to sabotage me from becoming better than her. Okay, she does add 10 more afterwards, but my point still stands. All in all, it took just under 21 minutes to get the future bacon for my sandwich. To make myself feel better, I did catch a Tarantula a minute later, which stayed on my team for a few hours until I realized how weak Spidops is and swapped it for Rabska, who isn't exactly an upgrade. So this is an interesting one that I think deserves an asterisk next to it. I needed 21 minutes to catch my first Pokemon, a Wurmple, in the 3DS remakes. Leading up to that point, though, several things happened. First, the Pokemart guy trolled me by saying they sold Pokeballs, except when I went in there weren't any. Then I lost to May twice. Because you need to win that battle, I had to restart each time. But it's not like I did anything wrong, her starter was just a lot stronger than my starter. And it must have had a scope lens because the damn thing kept getting crits. For posterity, I did the same thing in Omega Ruby and managed to catch a Wurmple 5 minutes earlier in 16 minutes and 7 seconds because I beat May on the first attempt. So in the overall tally, I'll be using that time. But true viewers who didn't skip to the end will know the horrifying truth. Unlike other Pokemon games where someone else shows you how to play with your balls, here in Crystal it's optional. Professor Elm's aid gives you 5 balls to start, then some random stalker offers to help you. I declined his creepy advances, walked a few steps, and in 21 minutes and 1 sock, a level 2 Sentret was on my team. Because it takes so long to battle your rival in Johto, you aren't able to catch a wild Pokemon until almost the 23-minute mark. Once again, it's after Professor Elm's aid gives you some balls, and that sassy young lad gets mad when you decline his invitation to teach you how to catch a Pokemon. I was hoping to go to Hooters for the first time, but I think because it's daytime it doesn't appear. And everyone knows you can't go to Hooters when it's light out. So instead I caught another Sentret which evolves into a furry. Unfortunately, because I was afraid a critical tackle might KO it, I went with Rage, then chucked a Pokeball, which failed. Yeah, tell me how bad I am at catching Pokemon in the comments. There's a surprisingly long break between the Berry fight in Platinum and catching your first Pokemon. First, Berry wants to go to the lake and catch Uxie or Azelf or whichever one's there. Then you go to Sandgem Town, talk to Professor Rowan, and he gives you a TM. Just when you think it's catching time, Dawn sends you back home to your mom. Along the way, Tackle missed twice, and I got 2 crits against some Starly and Bidoof. Finally, after 22 minutes, I caught a Starly, no thanks to Dawn, who's a cheapskate and only gave me 5 Pokeballs instead of 10. If you watched the last video, you know Sun and Moon take forever to get anywhere. That's why 16 minutes in, I was still waiting to play with my balls. Then after 20 minutes, I gave Hao goosebumps like I'm R.L. Stein, returned to the hottest mom in the entire franchise, and Professor Takui gave me some Pokeballs so I could cook a bird with my cat. I'm not sure if it's the fact that I've done this a few times and optimized my runs, but it took me just 24 minutes to catch my first Pokemon in Moon, a Pikipek far outpacing Ultra Sun and Moon. Sword and Shield are a little weird when it comes to catching your first Pokemon. While Leon does eventually give you a tutorial on how to catch Pokemon, you can actually do it on your own beforehand. So after getting roofied by a dog in the forest and starting your adventure, you magically have 5 Pokeballs in your possession. I battled a wild Rookidee and, because I wanted to increase my chances, launched a second tackle since it had plenty of health remaining. Of course it was a crit, resulting in a knockout. I did catch the next Rookidee, a level 6, but the sour taste in my mouth wasn't from someone's sweaty feet. Okay, so technically you catch your first Pokemon 6 or 7 minutes in Legends Arceus when you help Professor Laventon bring back the unruly starters. But for many reasons, I wouldn't say they count. Instead, you have to wait until you get to the Obsidian Fieldlands. It's all a little anticlimactic as Akari tells you to catch a Bidoof appears right in front of you, and you catch the Bidoof in 1 throw. Since it's added to your team, it counts, meaning it takes 25 minutes to catch your first Pokemon in Legends Arceus. Something I've always disliked about new Pokemon games is catching Pokemon from old regions. Unfortunately, despite all those hoot hoot flapping about, I ran into a Rattata right after Lyra gave me a disappointing 5 Pokeballs. Continuing my habit of targeting the first Pokemon I see, I reluctantly caught the rat, adding it to my team after 25 minutes. Finally, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. When it comes to the beginning of your story in Alola, the Ultra versions expedite the process compared to the originals. But what about catching a Pokemon? Well, after obtaining your starter less than 9 minutes in, you don't get any Pokeballs. Instead, on the way to Iki Town, Hau ambushes you and challenges you to a battle. After stomping his butt, I experience the story, which diverges slightly from Sun and Moon, having you physically battle a single Spearow on the bridge, but that's about it. Then after some talking by Tutu and a bit of sleep, Professor Kukui lured me to an isolated area to show me his balls. Finally, at the 26-minute mark, I caught a Grubbin after tackling it 3 times. And no, this didn't bring back bad memories of bringing a Charjabug all the way through the game on my first playthrough and over-leveling it, only for the stupid thing to not evolve until the very end. Why do you ask? Despite all the positive changes introduced with Ultra Sun and Moon, it's actually the worst game in the entire series when it comes to catching your first Pokemon. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, meanwhile, are the fastest, and that's not including when you get your starter, who you technically catch. Aside from that, the most surprising thing is how close so many of the games are. Things vary wildly for the other milestones, but here it's mainly split into 2 categories, each finishing within a few minutes of each other. If you made it through the video and waited this long to actually me about a game where I could have caught something earlier, now's your chance to go crazy in the comments.